Good morning, everybody. It's Cowboy. What's up? Exciting times. Bitcoin at all-time highs. Not looking like it's backing down. We're going to jump right into the charts, folks. So let's go ahead and start with the Bitcoin. Here we go. Zoom that in for you. That's a little trade that kind of a higher time frame trade that I'm going to take on this, and I'm going to build a position here. Okay, so basically, as Bitcoin pulls back, as long as the algos tell me that I will add to the position. So let's zoom out just a little bit and take a look at why I'm going to treat this trade as I'm going to treat it. And we'll build a thesis, okay? And we'll do it with price action. Now, I did it with algos, but, I don't really release what all that means. People in Algo Factory might be able to kind of decipher that. But if you look here, you can see that we have our all-time high broken. All-time high was made back in March, okay? And that was at 73,812. Price broke decisively on election day and is now at 76,000. So as price heads up, there's a good chance that it may come back down to test that all-time high. And then I took a look at the liquidity over on the Kingfisher, and that's what that yellow block is. Right, so now that you can see that, we're going to zoom into the daily because that's the weekly chart. Now on the daily, I put my stop loss above liquidity right here, right? So we'll just go ahead and take a quick review of liquidity, make sure that it's all still there. On the Kingfisher, I'm going to zoom in just a little bit here. Okay. And let's bring out the liquidity chart. Refresh. And most liquidity that's nearby is at about 73,000, right? There's some more down at like 67,000. And where do we have our liquidity box on our chart? I think it's around 67. Yeah, it's actually at 67 and up, right? So it's really like around 68. So if I were to adjust, again, that's pretty far below. There was a second smattering of liquidity that I wasn't quite worried about as much, and that was sitting at 72,750, and we put our stop loss below that, we being me. So 72,750 is going to be right about here, roughly, okay? And the stop loss is below that, so if price does go down to grab that liquidity that's just below the all-time high, then it's okay. Now, if price decides to head down and grab liquidity in that 67,000 range, which now we're going to have to shift this because it's moved a little bit. These things move, right? Now, if it does that, then that will be a great entry for probably the same trade. But the way this is designed is a pullback to all-time high is where I might take a second entry and build a position. If price does go down to grab this liquidity sitting around 72.7, then that means okay, I can get a great entry. If it goes down to grab this really deep liquidity, which I don't think it will, but it may, in the high 67 kind of handle, then I've been stopped out and I could just grab a deeper entry on the same trade, right? So that's that. That's how this works. And of course, the algos are indicative and just where we are in the cycle. This is the time when things break out. Every 4-year cycle, right about now is the time. And of course, the Trump victory is really pushing things as far as this particular market is concerned. Now, what is it doing for the rest of the markets? Let's take a look. Very healthy for the rest of the markets. We have my first target hit for the short-term ES1. That is the SP 500 move. So the SP 500 are really liking what's happening. So the markets are happy for a Trump win. He's a businessman, and that's going to be the perception that markets are going to do really well with him in. That might not necessarily be true, but that's the perception. So the markets are going to go with that. I think that ultimately he'll want to do the right thing for the markets. And I think that that might require some restructuring of things. And that tends to mean a pullback at some point. So the right thing for the markets doesn't always mean up long term, right? But short term, the markets are happy with the Trump victory. So we're seeing a move up. So we got, that's the Dow, this is the NASDAQ. Everything's going to affect NASDAQ, just broke its all-time high. So that's a lovely thing. And it met its first target for our, kind of our potential trade on the shorter, on the, how do I say this? Like on the trades that happen in a month or two, we just hit that first target. On the trades that happen in like a year or so, maybe like several months, that's going to be a little ways out. And again, in Algo Factory Private Live Lab, V the Guerilla does tell us some ideas of what we think the Trump administration is going to try to do and how it might affect the market, but that is going to be over at algofactory.tech Live Lab. Let's go ahead and drop into Solana. We'll take a look at what that crypto is doing, because it is just rocking and rolling. Solana approaching its local high being at 210. Now it's at 203. Solana's all-time, I think, is 240 or 260. Let's go back in time and see what that is from last cycle. 260. Solana's all-time high is 260. I'm going to go ahead and mark that out. And if we were to treat the move starting last year as one big impulse, this might not be the best way to handle it. I'm not going to do that. I'm going to go ahead and take a look at the move starting in January as an impulse. And we're going to see what our targets are based on that. Now, we had such a severe pullback. It was beyond a 7.8. Well, it was right at a 7.86 pullback. So that makes a lot of sense. And we're looking at very high time frame stuff here. So our next target for Solana, if I were to take a higher time frame trade, would be 245. And then it'll probably break the all-time high. And when it does, we would go up to about 290. A 300 Solana, I think, is a decent target for an all-time high. Certainly 290 for this cycle. It could go incredibly higher. It could go easily up to $500. I'm not trying to limit it. But if I were just to use metrics as a possible target, a conservative target, it would be 290. And that's great. That is a 50% rise from here. However, you know what? That Solana is where the meme coins meme, and the sky really is the limit for it. So I'm just using metrics and being very conservative with 290. So we're going to hop over to the private live lab here pretty shortly. What we do at Algo Factory is we teach people how to build trading algorithms. We teach people how to go ahead and use the market to extract money and to go ahead and put their funds in other places, right? We don't really advise where to put the money. We just advise people how to build algorithms that tell them when to get in and out of a trade. And that way, people can have their own customized algorithm. There's not a single line of code that you have to write. It's nothing like that. It's actually pretty simple. So come on in, algofactory.tech. As a matter of fact, let me go ahead and open up this live lab really quick. Having a tough time here with the text. Sorry, folks, about the boringness of the last part of the show. Good deal. Yep, algofactory.tech. Trade your job, upgrade your life. Don't forget.
Join us or die.